Hello. I decided I was going to redo my video on Battlestar Galactica because I made a couple of mistakes and I decided I'd go back and do a little more research and do a slightly better review. I'm talking about Battlestar Galactica 1978, not the 2017 remake. I'll do a separate video on that. Battlestar Galactica was created by Glen A. Larsen, who is a brilliant producer. Amongst other things, he produced Magnum P.I., The Fall Guy, BJ and the Bear. I could go on and on. He basically did everything. He did westerns, he did comedies, he did dramas. Brilliant producer. He also scored the music, which I thought was very impressive. Unlike some of the earlier science fiction television series of the 1970s, Battlestar Galactica had a very large budget. The first 2-hour movie cost $8 million to produce, and the production team behind it included John Dykstra and part of the membership of Industrial Light and Magic, who had done the special effects for Star Wars, and some of the effects are just as good. The spaceship models look terrific. The costumes, the interior design, the set decoration is all fantastic, especially given the time. The special effects are just great. It has basically what everybody wanted after, as I said, after Star Wars raised the bar on special effects. People wanted, space battles and laser guns and aliens, and it provides all that excitement. The basic story is about, I should say, who's in it. It starred Lorne Greene as Commander Adama, who is the commander of Battlestar Galactica. Richard Hatch as his son, Captain Apollo, who is a Viper pilot. Vipers are colonial fighters. Dirk Benedict as Starbuck, who's kind of a wise-ass character. He's also a Viper pilot, but he's kind of an upstart, mercenary type Han Solo sort of character. Maren Jensen played Athena. I had a big crush on her. I thought she was gorgeous. She still is pretty damn gorgeous. Laurette Spang played Cassiopeia, who was a medical technician. And sometimes on and off Starbuck's girlfriend, because he fooled around on her a lot. John Colicos played the bad guy, Baltar, who's a traitor to the 12 colonies. Herbert Jefferson Jr. played Boomer, who is a shuttle pilot. Noah Hathaway played a character called Boxy, who was a little boy who is trapped in the initial attack on the 12 colonies. And he has a kind of a cute pet named Muffet, who's a Daggett, which is a kind of a dog. When Muffet is killed, Starbuck and Apollo build him a robotic version of Muffet, which I thought was very nice. And Lockhart plays another female Viper pilot called Sheba. Tony Schwartz played a character, Sergeant Jolly, who is a mechanic and technician. Jane Seymour played Serena, the daughter of Admiral Kane, who's played by Lloyd Bridges. Terry Carter plays Colonel Ty, who is Adama's second in command. Patrick Macnee played the Imperious leader, who's the leader of the bad guys, the Cylons. And uncredited Jonathan Harris played a robotic, sort of a superior intelligence. He wasn't quite as dumb as the Cylons. He was the subaltern to Baltar when he took over as Imperious leader, and his name was Lucifer. It's just his voice. I don't know who was actually the actor inside the costume. And Patrick Macnee of the Avengers played the Imperious leader, the leader of the Cylons. The story is that the 12 colonies of Kobol are attacked on what is the 1000th anniversary of 1,000 years of peace with this race of cyborgs known as the Cylons. And at that celebration, the Cylons attack with their Cylon raiders and basically wipe everybody out, or as many people as they can. Those 12 colonies are: Caprica is the capital. There's Toron, Libron, Sagitta, Virgon, Cancron, Geminon, Arelon, Aquaria, Leonis, Sagittarion, and Scorpia. So they're all the signs of the zodiac. And of course, there is the legendary 13th colony of Kobol, which is known as Earth. Now that's the only place they can go because their colonies are wiped out. They have only one remaining Battlestar, which is the Battlestar Galactica, and they rally everybody else in these ships, anything from freighters to converted cargo ships, uh, anything they can get together. They basically have about 200 ships. Over the course of the series, some of those are inevitably destroyed. There are some interesting things. There are some uprisings, and not everybody gets along. And I thought that was very well done. Unlike other science fiction series, this is not a utopia. Nobody, it's not a place where everybody gets along with everybody else. And there are fights, there's internal strife, there's conflict. Some people want to go to Earth, some people don't want to go to Earth. It's kind of a more mature series in that way. Interesting thing, there was two things. One, all of these were supposed to be 2-hour television movies. That was the format that was agreed upon by 20th Century Fox, who produced them. Then later on, some of the corporate executives said, no, we want a weekly show. Doing that made the writers have to scramble to write scripts, and some of them were being written like right up to the day of shooting. And they had to give actors cue cards to read their lines off because they didn't have a script for them to rehearse from, which must have been very difficult for the actors. It doesn't show. The acting was terrific. The special effects were fantastic for the time. Great model shots and great, laser shots and everything. And all of this was practical. There was no CGI at the time, so they had to do everything, as with the effects that they have, optical printing and model shots and interior sets. The costumes were fantastic. The Imperial Viper pilot jackets are terrific, and I'm actually going to get myself one of these days. They are available on the internet. But if you're going to get one, make sure you get ones that has the shoulder patch and the collar pips. Otherwise, you're not getting an official jacket. Amazon has one available. So get that one. Don't get the imitators. And again, they had 24 episodes. It ran from September 17th, 1978 to April 29th, 1979. It was eventually canceled because it could not compete with the shows on the other networks, which was they ran at the same time as All in the Family and Good Times, and people weren't going to miss that. And this was in the era before VCRs were popular. They did, in fact, exist, but they had the old, quarter-inch tape, and very few people had them. The VCRs that we knew, the Betamaxes and the regular VCRs, were not. They were, in fact, in existence, but not a lot of people had them. I remember that we used to watch the show on Sunday night at 8 p.m. We would gather at the Student Union at Southampton College of Long Island University, where I attended my freshman year, and watch the new episode of Battlestar Galactica. And we would cheer and whoop and have a good time, have a party. We'd order a pizza and really make a night out of it. Everybody in at least in our dorm, and I think in most of the dorms, really loved the show. It was exciting. It was interesting. It wasn't like any other show on TV at that time, I should say. Each of these cost a lot of money. The first 2-hour episode where the Cylons attack it cost $8 million to produce. I believe each other episode of these 24 will cost at least $1 to $2 million, and that may be another reason why it was canceled. It was just too expensive. They just couldn't keep up with the budget. They had some interesting things. Glenn Larsen, and I did not know this at the time, was a Mormon, and he put a lot of his own religious beliefs sort of into the show. But again, he didn't hit over the head with them, and I liked that. There are some, characters who are quite obviously sort of Christ-like figures, but he doesn't, like I said, shove it in your face. Interestingly, in 4 episodes, 2 of the 2-hour two-parters were more based on characters from the Quran than on the Bible. They were Lost Planet of the Gods and War of the Gods, and in each of these there are these characters, and they're led by this evil character called Count Iblis. Well, Iblis is a character out of the Quran, and he's sort of a devil character, and he plays sort of a devil character in the series too, which I thought was interesting. One of the best ones was, and again, I don't remember the title, but they find out that, in fact, they think that Galactica is the last Battlestar. The Battlestar is a big battleship which can launch these fighters that they call Colonial Vipers. And they're very cool-looking ships. And they launched down a launch ramp, and that launch ramp sequence was really cool, even if it's not scientifically accurate. Flames don't shoot out in outer space, but it looks cool. and the effect was well done. But there is, in fact, another Battlestar and that has survived the Cylon attack, and that is the Battlestar Pegasus, run by Commander Kane, played by Lloyd Bridges. And his daughter is Jane Seymour as Serena. And this causes a rift within the fleet because Kane is very militaristic. He wants to destroy the Cylons at all cost, and he is willing to risk the lives of his crew and his people, and they are willing to risk their lives for him. That's how dedicated to them they are. But Adama does not agree. He thinks that attacking these giant, ships called Cylon base stars, which is where they launch their fighters from, their Cylon raiders, is too dangerous, and that they could lose too many people and too many ships, and they get into a very large argument, and over a number of episodes, this plays out. Now, I thought that was very well done. One of the more interesting episodes is called Messages from Earth, and that's another two-parter. And sitting up in the observation dome, Starbuck sees a message that is apparently relayed from Earth, and it's showing a moon landing, the Apollo 11 moon landing. And at first they can't confirm it. They're looking for Earth because they think Earth is the lost 12th colony of Kobol. And they can't pinpoint exactly where it's coming from. In the first episode, it keeps coming on and then off and on and off. And they think maybe it's a trick. The Cylons are trying to lure them into a trap, that kind of thing. But eventually it is confirmed that it is a signal from Earth. So now they have a direction, which places this back in time. It does not take place in the future, in fact. It takes place in 1969 when we landed on the moon. So in the follow-up series, Galactica 80, which did not do well in the ratings because it was actually rather badly written and kind of dumb, they dumbed it down a little bit, I thought. They reach Earth. It's taken them, the colonial fleet, 20 years to reach Earth, and now they reach Earth and they try to assimilate with the people, and it doesn't really go very well, put it that way. I'm not going to discuss that series because I consider that separate. But the original series I thought was really good. It's very well written. There's some great episodes. I liked there was one where Starbuck goes too far. The Vipers are only supposed to go so far away from Galactica. They only have so much fuel. And somehow Starbuck goes too far and he's basically lost the whole episode. I thought that was kind of an interesting episode. He has to find his way back. One thing that I thought was cool, the helmets that they wore lit up. They looked like Egyptian helmets, which I thought was also very cool. And a lot of their things have sort of Greek or Egyptian or Roman names, which I thought was good too. Kind of suggesting that maybe some of those things didn't come from Earth. But the helmets lit up and they looked like Pharaoh helmets, which I thought was very cool. I'd like to get one of those eventually too. Those are really neat. I thought that's a good idea. Space is dark. Why shouldn't your helmet light up? That's kind of an interesting thing. They also used a tracking system called DRADIS, and I understood, I didn't know in the first series, but I found out in the reboot that actually is an acronym. It does stand for something. It's Direction, Range, Distance, DRADIS. And I like that. It's a practical. That's what it gives you when you're looking at it, is direction, range, distance, so you can target in on the Cylon raiders. The Cylons were very cool. They're like I said, they're cyborgs. They're all metal, and they had a little red eye that goes back and forth, and they have speak in a monotone. And they go, "By your command." That's what they say mostly. The Imperious leader was a cool character. He was the one Cylon who still had a sort of he was sort of a lizard-like humanoid, and he sat in this big throne. I assume that at a certain point they stopped showing him and they started showing Baltar as the Imperious leader because I think he basically killed him. Baltar was eventually found out to be a traitor and he was arrested, but he kept escaping, and eventually he escapes to a base star, and then now they can't get to him anymore. So he takes over as the Imperious leader, and he's still pressing his attack on Galactica and the remaining fleet. I love the closing narration, and I'm going to recite it. It's, "Fleeing the Cylon tyranny, the last Battlestar Galactica leads a ragtag fugitive fleet on a lonely quest for a shining planet called Earth." I like that. I think that was very well written, and it's really a good series. They're all available on both DVD and Blu-ray, and if you have not seen them, I highly recommend it.